Welcome back to Learning Partners. So in this video, we are going to do a small application. This was application one of my subscribers sent me, like he has received that machine as a machine test when he was applying for an interview. The company which has provided that, it has a particular PDF, but I cannot share that. So whatever they have asked him to do in the machine test, like that I have created the APIs and the database. So basically, what we are trying to do is we need to create a car parking management application again with Angular 17. So basic models will be like we should be able to create car parking spaces. Lots are there. Then we have car booking mechanism where when a car enters into a parking lot, we have to make that entry. That will be car entry, nothing but when car is moving out of the that parking lot, we just need to vacate that space. That means car out. And fourth is the dashboard where we will show just the statistic. Just to summarize, like we will try to use the latest things like at the rate or, at the rate if, at the rate of, ngClass, routing. For booking, we will be using template form and API call integration. Now let me just show you the database. So we are going to need just two tables. First table is the parking lot master and the parking master. So the entries in the columns will be, so parking lot master. Here primary key is the parking lot ID, parking lot name is active, is that floor is active or not, then total parking spot. This is like creating multiple floor, and in that floor, how many parking spot are there. This is the table for that. Then we have parking master. This is the actual table where we are going to store the parkings. So parking ID is my primary key. Again, it is an identity. So we don't have to send the parking ID. When you are creating new parking ID, you need to send it 0. Then parking lot ID, in which floor we are going to park the vehicle. Then vehicle number we are asking, mobile number, in time. By default, you can see out time is allow null, means it's not mandatory because when we are creating an entry, obviously out time is not required. So when we are making the car out, then only out time is required. Parking date, on which parking date is there, and spot number, which spot for this particular vehicle number I have assigned. So these are the two tables. Coming back to API, so as you already know, like this is the only project I have been following. All the project ideas are keeping in this project only. So here we have this controller. You will find the APIs in free API.0sim.in. So parking spot booking is the controller name. Inside that, we have first API, that is get all dashboard, to get the dashboard like total parking, today's parking, active parking. Then we have APIs to create the parking lots, create parking lot, update parking lot, delete parking lot. In create parking lot, we have just added a condition like parking lot should be unique name. So we have just checked like if parking name is already there, we are sending the error like parking lot name already exists. If not, we are allowing user to create the parking lot and delete also. One more thing, like I have added the foreign key relationship also, right? But let's say if any parking lot we have booking, and if you are trying to delete the parking lot, it won't allow you to delete the parking lot because in that parking lot we have active records match, right? So we are not allowing to delete that. Then car spot booking, actually booking API. So get all parkings. So this is the API which is responsible to get you all the parkings from all the parking, all the floors. So you can, here you can see I have added the join. Then another API is get all parking by parking lot ID. So here one parameter is there, that is parking lot ID. So here you need to send this parking ID, means whatever the floor ID or parking lot ID you need to check. You will get all the parking from that parking, means active, inactive, everything. Then this is the actual API which we are going to use. You have to send the parking lot ID, and whatever the parking is there in this parking lot, which is not, what do we say, parking lot active, and one more condition we need, that is and we are deciding like car is out or not. So when we are creating a parking, we are assigning out time as null. So if we say out time is equal to null, means car is still parked. If out time is not equal to null, means car has left the parking spot, right? So we are passing the parking lot ID. We will get the all the parking in that parking lot ID and where out time is null. Then book spot entry. This is the what do we say, actual API which will make the car entry. So here I'm checking the logic, like if on this particular spot is there, out time is null, and same parking ID is there. This queries just to check, like double entry should not be there. Means if a car is already standing in a particular parking lot in a particular spot number, we should not allow duplicate car parking. That will make a chaos, right? So just to validate that, we have just added this query. If it is null, then only we are adding. While adding it here, you can see I'm passing, even though you say parking out time now, I won't consider it. While saving, I'm making it null and I'm adding it. So if this condition get true, means if we got the particular booking available in that spot in that parking lot, we am sending the error like car already parked in the spot. So you won't be able to book double, we won't be able to take a book a double entry. Then release spot. In the release spot, what we are, it's just an update thing. But here I'm checking like out time should not be null. Okay. So this is about API. Now, so this is the UI which we are going to use. So here we will show all the parking floors we have. Then here over here we will show like what are the parking spot we have. On click of this, like let's say this is a vacant park. So on click of it, a booking form will be pop up with the selected parking spot number. We have to enter the vehicle number in time, whatever the mobile number we have to give. On click of book, this should be booked. Particular booking spot should be booked and it should look like this along with the whatever the vehicle number it has, right? Now, if the particular parking spot is booked, if we click on it, we will get the out entry form. So here everything will be disabled, just the out entry type we need to save. As we have seen in the API, when we create the entry, out time is null. But when we make it out, when the car is exiting the parking space, we just have to enter the out time. Means by this field we will get to know like car is parked or not parked, and that particular spot is free or not, like this. Now coming back to API endpoint. So free api.miniprojectideas.com, you can hit it, you will get the swagger over here. And here whatever the APIs we have seen that I have hosted. So let's see the get parking lot API. So initially I have submitted some data. So let's just test that if we are getting it properly or not. Yes. So here you can see I have created 3 floors. Let's say floor 1 is having 10 parking spot, floor 2 is having 30 parking spot, and again floor 3 is having 20. So here this is just a static UI. So if we click on parking slot 1, we should get 10 parking spot over here, as we can see right now. If we say parking plot floor 2, we should get around 30 parking spot just like this. So currently this is just the static UI, but everything will be dynamic now. So just an empty project I have created with Angular 17. In that Angular 17 project, I have added Bootstrap and Font Awesome. And after adding the Bootstrap and the Font Awesome, I have added those entries into my Angular.json into style section. If you have to use Bootstrap after installing, you need to add the entry to your Angular.json also. So this is the initial thing which I have done. Let me just close it. Now, app component, again, the project is with Angular 17. So here you can see it is around with 17.1.01 next version, not the exact latest, but 17 version only. Now, so once we create the project, we get everything, the default page we will get. Let's get rid of that. Now, if you see the UI, let me just go back. So if you see the UI, we have some other menus also. We have a sidebar and what do I say, a title over here. So this is the UI which I'm talking about. So this UI needs some classes, so which we already have it over here. So let's copy everything and let's put these all classes into our global style.css. Let me just get it. So let's put that CSS into our folder that is common CSS, that is style.css, which we'll put it over here. After that, in app.component.html. So app.component.html will be our parent component. So there we will keep our, since this application, we are not targeting about, what do we say, having a login and registration. It's just like the important thing, that is parking management system, what we are trying to do. So I'm skipping that. Now, in app component, we will have header and the sidebar. So let's get it and let's put it in the app component. Let's save and check if we are getting the proper application look and feel. Yes. So here you can see we are getting the same application look and feel, whatever we have created. Now here our activated route should be created. Now, as we have discussed, we just have two modules. First is like to create the parking lots, like what number of floors you have, and another is the actual booking form. So the other part, the for creating parking lot, that I'm not going to cover. This is just a normal current operation. You can do it, but parking booking we will do. Whatever you are saying over here, this we are going to do. So for now, I will create components. So in app folder, I'm going to create a folder that will be pages. And inside this pages folder, I will open a new terminal and here I will create the components. Let's close this file. Ng generate component. Let's say parking. This is the component where we are going to do all that parking. So in Angular 17 by default, all my components are standalone. So you can see only 4 files as created. Earlier we used to update the app module also, but now we don't have app module. If you are new to Angular 17, just go through my channel. Some of the previous videos I have made respective to Angular 17, what new things are there, what change are not. Right. So one component we have created, another component will be parking lots, where we will do just the CRUD operation. We are not going to focus on this, just this component we are going to focus. So after creating components, we have to create the routes also. So we have app route.ts. Here we are going to create the routes. Route is nothing but an object which will have some parameter. So path. So first path, I'm keeping it as empty. If path is empty, we will say first path is like a default path we are creating. So if path is empty, we will say redirect to. Why it is not suggesting? Let me just save it again. Yeah, so now it's suggesting. So path, if path is empty, means if in URL we don't have anything, so where it should redirect? So we have to say redirect to, and we will redirect to home. And path mesh strategy we need to pass, that will be with full. So this is just my default route. Then we will need the actual route. So path will be home. And on this home component, which component we have on this home route, which component we have to open? So parking. Here we are going to have that booking form. Another route we will create for that. What do we say? Parking lot. Parking lot component. That's it. So 3 routes we have created. Now in parking lot, let's just save it and check it if we are able to open the default page. Now in app component, so see, in app component, what we have did, we have kept our header and the sidebar. But we need to showcase, we need to have a router outlet also now, because without router outlet, activated route cannot be visible. So let's get this content. Let's put it over here. And inside this content, we will need router outlet. Let's save it. So here you can see parking works is coming. By default, if we don't have anything in the URL, by default it is navigating to home. Correct? Let's try the other route as well. That was, now before that, this was a dashboard. Let's say parking lot. Here we will say RouterLink. Now, in Angular 17, one rule goes like whatever you are going to use, you need to import that. So in app component .ts, you can see router outlet was here already imported. That's why we were able to use it. But now you need to use the router link. So that also you need to import. So after this, router link also you need to import. Then only you can use the router link. So router link, and then you need to pass the route. So first is like home, parkings, and second will be for that parking lots. So parking hyphen lot. This is the second route. Let's paste it over here. Setting and everything we will keep it as empty. And on dashboard also we will redirect to home only. Let's save and check the redirection. So on click of parking, it is navigating over there. No, something is wrong. Let me just check what is wrong. We save everything. Let's save and check it now. So if we click on parking lot, so see, parking lot is getting redirection, parking component is getting rendered. Routing is done. Now here we need this UI. So let's copy this UI from this model also we are going to need. So let's copy everything. Let me just copy this code. This should go into our parking component. And our model code also we will need. So let's copy. And at the bottom, we will put our model components. So now here you can see we are getting the UI. Let's close the other project. We don't need it now. We have already copy pasted. Now, so now the work is only in the parking component. Just pay attention now. So on the page load, what we need to do? So on the page load, first we need to get all the parking lot. So this is the API which get us all the parking lots we have. Means nothing but floor or anything name you can give anything. Either it can be floor or parking lot or parking space, anything. Correct? So this is my API. Now, throughout all the project, this means the basic API endpoint will be common. Just my method name is going to change. So what we can do, we will create a service. So after in app folder, we will create a folder that will be service. And in that service, we will create a service which will be responsible to hold all the API call functions. Why to create service? As in, again, we should not make our API call into component service and let's say master. We should put our API call into our service file. If you are preparing for interview, always make sure even if it is not mentioned in your machine test, whatever the task they provide you, but still you have to create a service and you have to move your all API call into your service. That will display like you know the service as well. You know how you return the observable and everything. Correct? Now, so in service, I will create a API endpoint URL variable, API URL :string equal to double quotes. And here I will paste the common API part, means up till now. This is common. So let's put it over here. Again, some guys keep asking me, can we use double quote or single quote? Double quote or single quote, but preferably single quote you have to use. Doesn't matter like what you use, but try to go for the single quote. Everything will work same. If you use double quote or single quote, everything is same. You can use double quote or single quote as well. Now, in older version, if you have to make the API call, we used to add HTTP client module into our app module, right? But now here we don't have that app module. So we have app config. So here in the provider section, you can do like this: provide HTTP client. Like this you can create. So this is equivalent to HTTP client module. What we used to do in the older version that got replaced by this provide HTTP client. Now, here we have to create the object of our HTTP client service. So private HTTP client. Now, the basic API URL we have created, HTTP client also we have created. Now we will create first function, that is get all parking lot, round bracket, curly bracket. Now this function is going to return the data. So return this dot HTTP dot get. Now after get, we need to pass the URL. So our API, common API URL is over here. Now here I'm going to use template literal. Okay. Now here, first like dollar curly bracket, this dot API URL will be there. Up in API URL up to slash we have. Then we need, after this, we will need just the method name. So our method name is get parking lot. So this we will put it over here. So this is nothing but concatenation. What you know between two, how you used to concatenate two words by using plus operator. this is same like that, but in ES6 we have the new things that is template editor. So always try to use the new things we have in ES6. So while preparing, you don't have to prepare those topics. If you are making it in a daily use now, so you don't have to actually prepare those. Now this function is going to return a data type of observable. You can see it is returning a data type of observable. Now in our parking component, we have to create an object of this master service. So this was the old way how we used to create the object of any injectable service. Now in parking component, I will showcase you the new way. So here I will create, let's say I have to create the object of master service. So let's say master service is equal to inject we have to use. So inject is something new, which is just a replacement of how we used to create the object in constructor. That was a dependency injection. So here we need to provide the master service. So this is the new way how you can create the object of any injectable service. By using inject, you can provide the service whatever you need to create. Now, on the page load, you need to call that API. So obviously, ng on init should be there. So in constructor, sorry, in the import, you need to add on init. Then you need to implement ng on init, and after that, you will be asked to implement on init. Correct? Now, here you are going to make that API call. So in the service we have already created get parking lots. Now from this function, we are going to make API call to the master service dot only one function is there currently. Now this function is going to return the observable, so we can subscribe to it. So whatever, if you have created any function and from that function you are returning observable, so you can subscribe to it. Subscribe result colon any. Now just pay attention to my API response. So my all API response are going to return you the object. In that object, you are going to have message, result, and the data. Result is the property which you need to match to check like API call is success or not. And in the data, you will get the actual data. So here, now this, once we make this API call in the ng on init, you need to store the data also, whatever you get. So for that, we will create a variable. So parking, or what we can do, normally what we do, let's say parking lot list colon any, it's going to be array of objects. So I'm not going to create interface and class just to reduce the video length. Now what we normally do, we store the array over here, result dot data like this. But this is very old way. If you are appearing for the interview, you have to showcase your skill. So rather than doing like this, again, okay, let it be like this, because again we have to use the map, and actually I wanted to show the async pipe, but my API will return the object. Then again we have to map it. So let's not complicate these things. We will keep this video very basic so that fresher also can understand this. So on the page load, we are making this API call. Whatever the data we get from this API call, we are storing in this. Now this will hold the array of parking lots. So in the HTML, here you can see this was the static buttons. Now here we have to use ng for. Now, new thing in Angular 17. So if we have to use ng for now, you need to import common model. So here only it will shows the working. As this project was created in Angular 17, the latest version, not currently, whatever you are seeing now. So there it was showing the warning, but if you have the latest version, it will show the error. So if you have to use ng for or ng if now, you need to add common module. You cannot use ng for an ng directly. Again, rule goes, whatever you use, you need to import that, right? So in your component here, you need to add common module, then only you can use it. So now you can see that error will be gone away. Let's just save it. Let's write it actually. Let space of our variable name. So see, error is gone. But why now there in Angular 17, there is new thing that is control flow statement. So we can use for loop in the HTML also. So instead of this, now we don't need to import this also. We can make use of the @ for loop. So it is like this. And inside this, you need to add the iterate, whatever the element you need to make iterate. Let's get rid of this static thing. Now, items, you need to pass the array name, that is parking lot list. It will go over here. Again, if you know the async pipeline, here you can create an observable, map it, store the proper data, and here you can use that observable directly with the async pipe. Now, here you need to showcase the parking space name. So interpolation item dot, let's say the API response, what thing you are getting, parking lot name. Let's save, let's save all and check if we are on the page load, we are getting the proper parking lot. So here you can see floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. This is what the data you are getting from the API side. Let me show you the network call also. I know it's a small video, but still things are very, it's an API based application. So video length will increase. So many things are there. Again, I have to explain also everything. Now, so on the page load, so here you can see we have this button, but button is having the primary class. Correct. But we need one floor to be by default selected. If we click on it, that floor need to be selected. And if we click on it, that button should have a, let's say success color so that we will know like it is a selected. So I'm creating a variable selected parking lot ID. I will store ID over here, number by default 0. And once we get the parking lot now, after that, we will store the parking lot ID of the first element. So this dot parking ID is equal to, from this array, we will select the first element with 0 and we need the ID. So dot, let's check what is the ID. That is parking lot ID. So this we will put it over here. So on the page load in this variable, we are storing the first element parking lot ID. Now this variable, we will use it over here by using ngClass. So let's try if we can use ngClass. So condition will be this equal to item dot. We will comparing with this. If it is there, this class, otherwise this class. So let's check the error. Cannot bind ngClass. Yeah. So again, ngClass, if you have to use ngClass is again a directive. If you have to use it, again you have to go for the common module. So let's add it. So now you can see error is gone. Now you can use the ngClass. So if this condition get true, we have to add, that is btn success class. Otherwise, btn primary class will be added. So let's remove it from over here and this will go over here. Correct. So this is how we have done. So now let's just save it and let's check if the first button is auto selected or not. Spelling mistake must be there. Let's use double C. Yeah, let's save it again. So now you can see this is getting selected. Now on click of it, other floor also gets selected. So let's write a click event on that. Click set selected. Set selected. So this is the function which we are going to call on the click of this button, and we need to pass the parking lot ID. So this will pass. Let's create this function. We are going to get the ID. Let's store, let's cache that with the data type number. Whatever the ID we will get, we have to store this into this variable only. So let's save and check it. Instead of sending the ID, now we are going to need the whole object. So let's pass the whole object. And here also, instead of storing just the ID, now we will store the whole parking lot object, selected parking lot. because we are going to need how many parking spots are there. So here, instead of saving the ID only, I'm storing the whole object. And this will be any. Let's make it data. So now we are not storing just the ID, we are storing everything, whole parking lot object. And now here also, instead of this, now here we are going to get the object. So object dot this ID we need to compare. Because once we select, we need to show that number of parking spot over here. So that's why we need the total object, because in this object we have the parking total spot. So let's just save if it is getting selected or not, then we can move on the dynamic part. So by default, one is selected. If we click on second, you can see it is getting selected like that. Now, if you see in parking, in floor one, we have 10 parking. In floor two, we have 13, floor three, 20. So whatever the round divs you are able to see, now this should be dynamic. If floor one is selected, we should see 10 parking spot. If floor two is selected, we should have 30 parking spot. So let's make this thing dynamic. So now let me just, so this is the div. Let me just get it. Let's put it over here. Let's comment everything because we are not going to need this now for now. Now, so in this particular div, this is the div which is going to iterate. Now here we can use again @for loop. Now in parking spot, we are going to get the number of total parking spot. Here you can see in the API, we have got like 10, 30. Correct. So now the for loop needs the number of array, correct? Because just like in ngFor needs the array of item, but now we have the integer, like how many integer we have. So what we can do, once we get the data, we will create new array, total parking spots, or let's say parking spot list. It will be array of integer. And once we click on any part, here also we are going to do the same thing, or let's create a separate function for that. We need to create an array of, let's say we have 10. So from 1 to 10, we need to create array. If we have 30, 1 to 30, we need to create integer array. Create list. And this will have number, total, spot. We will use a normal for loop. We have to use the for loop till this. Then in this variable, first we will initialize with 0 because we need to initialize with empty array, sorry. And in this array, we need to just push it. What we need to push it? We will do push, yeah, push only. So this, whatever the index we will initialize with 0. And this index, we will push it over here. Now this function we will call on the page load also, because here we are passing the selected parking spot. On the page load also, we are making it. And this is total parking spot. This is the thing which we have to send. Let me just write it. I will again explain it. Let's add a debugger so that we can test it. And this function again, we will call it over here like this, because here also we are changing the parking spot. So let's save and check. Okay, the HTML, let's comment this code for now, or let's write it also. Simultaneously, I have explained. So this is the array where we are going to get the array of parking spot. So this we will use it over here, and this div should be inside this. We won't need this data toggle. And here we have to interpolate item. So let's save it and let's debug the code and then I will explain it also. So on the page load, we have got the parking spot. First parking spot we have stored. So here you can see total parking spot 10 is available there. Then we are calling this function. So in this dot, here you can see total parking spot. That function got called and we have got 10 record. So here you can see 10 parking spot we have got. Now if I click on parking floor 2, let's just add a debugger over here also. So now in data, you can see we have got the second floor record. Here total parking spot is 30, right? So if we call this function and now in this variable, you can see we have got 30. Now if we continue, here you can see 30 parking spot we have got. If we click on floor 3 again, 20 is there. Again, if we click on, so whatever the floor number you click, that number of, whatever the number of parking spot available in that particular floors are visible, correct? So this is the dynamic thing. Now, next thing is, if we click on this, we need to open the model popup. So we have the model popup over here. This model popup we have to open on that button, on that particular div click. So let's create a function to open the model popup. Open model constant. Now we are going to get read the particular element. So model by document dot get element by ID. You can create a view child also if you know, but just try to, I'm just trying to keep this video for fresher also so that they can also understand and do everything. If you know view child, please do create a view child and write code like that. Model not equal to null check we have to add. Whenever we are reading the data from the HTML now, we have to add a null check. Just like that, if you are reading the data from the local storage also, you have to add a null check. If model is there, so we are adding a dynamic style dot display. We need to make it block. We are just adding a dynamic style. So this function is responsible to open the model popup. Just like that, we need to create one more to close it. So close, and here we will say none. But once we are calling this function, now we need, because this function we are going to call on this model, on this parking spot. But wherever we have clicked, so we need this number. So for that, we will have a parameter int, sorry, parking spot number. Data type will be number. And wherever we have clicked that, we need to store. So we will again create selected parking spot number. We are just creating a variable because in this variable, we are going to store it. Colon number, by default, we will assign it to 0. And whatever the number we will get, that we will store it over here. So this dot parking spot number is equal to parking spot number, the parameter which we are going to get. Now we need to call this function on this div click. So click, we have to call the function and we need to pass the item also because we need to pass the parking spot number. And whatever the number we have stored now, let's just print that. Let's just assign that into our form. So here we have the book model only. So here, this is the first text box, which is spot number, but we need to pass the value also. So here value was there. So we just need to provide it by using property binding and we need to provide the value. By default, it is disabled. Wherever we click, that value should be selected. So it just test it. So now if I click on 3, here you can see 3 we are able to see. Let's click on, okay, we didn't create the function for close. Let me just test it. If we click on 7, you can see 7 is getting printed. Now this function, we have to call it over this close icon also. And again, we have a close button at the bottom. Here also we need to call it. Now this data dismissal we don't need. Let's test it again. So see, now we are able to cancel it. Wherever I'm clicking, that parking spot getting auto selected. Correct. So one thing is done. Now we need to move to the booking part. So let's see the booking API. So that is book spot API. So let's create a object for this first. Let's copy it. booking obj colon any. Let's initialize with empty. Parking date, we can send the new date, current date, like this. Parking spot by default initialize 0. Parking ID is primary key, that is also by default initialize 0. And here parking spot by default we will initialize to 0. But once we get the selected parking spot, this is nothing but what you have selected over here. What the floor number or what is the parking plot number you have stored, that you need to assign it. So wherever we are changing the parking plot or while saving it only, we will assign it. So by default, we will keep like this as well. Now we have created the object. Now this object we need to bind to our form. So square bracket, round bracket. We are going to use ngModal, which is for using the template form. Our object name is booking object dot. This is spot number. So spot number will be over here. But this is giving error. So if you remember in the older version, we used to add forms model. If we have to use ngModal, we have to import the form model. But again, we don't have app module. So in the component roles only, we have to add it. So forms module. Let's save it. Now you'll be able to use it. So let's just copy paste. And then we will change the properties only. Then we have mobile number. It will go over here. Then we have in time. So again, in time, I have kept it free. I have not added the data type as time. Whatever you feel that you can add it. It's a free text box. Vehicle number. Sorry, where it is vehicle number. Remaining things, parking ID and everything, we are going to send it. So form we have binded to our object. Now on click of book, we need to create call one function. So click on book. Let's create this function. Now in service also we need to create the function. So I'm just copy pasting this. But now we are going to create a post object. So we are going to need an object again with any book spot, just a function name I am giving. Let's see the function name, book spot only. So this only we have to put it over here instead of get. Now it is post API. Post API will require two parameters. First is the URL and second is the object. The object, whatever we get, we need to pass it over here. Correct. Now this function we have to call from this API. Before calling it, here you can see we need to pass the parking lot ID also. So let's pass it. So this dot booking object dot parking lot ID. Parking lot ID is nothing but in this variable we have whole data of the selected parking lot. So from there only we need to get it. So that is like where we have done that. This dot selected parking lot dot. Let's get it from the API. Always try to get it from the API. Don't assume that like this is the spelling and add it. If you won't get it any error also, and your code will also not work. Right now, so this dot master service dot. Now we have two functions. We have to call this function, and we need to pass object also. Object is nothing but this object we need to pass. Then obviously we can subscribe from bracket result colon any. Again, I said while explaining, like in the result, you will get result, message, and the data. So here you need to add a if else statement to just check like if API, API call is success or not. And we will show alert. Sorry. Here string message, and here like booking done. From API side also you are going to get the message. It's as per you. If you want to use that, use it. Otherwise, you can show your custom message. And in the same field, res dot message, you will get the error. So that you need to display like this. So let's just add a debugger. Let's test it. So let's just test that other API also. Get active parking lot ID booking. So let's try for the floor one. So floor one has the ID as one. So let's check if in the floor one, do we have any active parking ID, active park. So currently only one vehicle is added over here. This is just a testing data I have added. That booking spot is one. So here you can see in floor one, in spot number one, we already have a car already parked. Let's try to do the booking on the same spot again. Let's enter vehicle number MH22, some dummy. In time, let's say 4:00 p.m. Mobile number, let's enter dummy mobile number. For mobile number also, a validation is there. If you provide minimum or maximum greater than 10, you will get the error. Now, if we click on book, so our function got called. So in the booking object, you can see the remaining details you got it from the form, in time, out time, everything. But parking lot ID is 0. Parking ID is spot number also we missed. Let's continue. Booking done, it will get because we missed this parking spot. So parking spot also we need, so that we forgot. Booking dot parking spot number. So spot number, when we click on the open model, in this variable, we have stored that. So this we need to pass it over here. Let's save and check it again. Now we should be able to see that error. If I click on here, let's provide again data. Okay. Now if we click on book, you can see by default, we don't have parking lot ID and the spot number, but that we are going to get it from over here. See? Now our whole object is proper. Parking out time, we don't have to send it. Everything is there now. Now let's add a debugger over here. Now if I continue, so now we should get the false because in parking in floor one on the spot number one, we already have a car park. So that's why we have got it false. It will go to else. We will show the error car already parked in the spot. Right. Let's cancel it. Let's try to book the spot number 3. Remaining detail is as it is because we didn't clear it. Let's try to book it now. Continue. Now here you can see we have got it true. Means car has successfully assigned that parking spot. Once API call is success, we need to close this model popup also. So this close model function, we will call it over here. Now let's check the get API again. Now we should see the 3 API call, one with the null, parking spot 0. See the recently which we have created, parking spot 3. Now this API we need to call on the page load and we need to show these are the parking spot, but which is booked and not, that we need to show. So this API call we need to make it. So let's go to service again. Let's copy this. Let's paste it over here. Get active parking by parking lot ID. And method name is this. So let's copy this. Let's paste it over here. Just this one should be dynamic. So after that plus, or here only we can use dollar like this. And this function will have a parking lot ID. Try to get the same parameter name because while sending the data, you will understand what you need to send. And this you need to pass it over here. So your URL will be dynamic. Now, again, on the page load also, we need to call that. Whenever we select the parking slot, once we select the parking slot, we need to call that the active park API. So just like this, I'm just copy pasting. This will be get active parking, get active parking. And for this function, we need to pass the ID. So let's say, instead of this, in this variable, we are going to have it already selected parking lot. Dot, what was that thing? parking lot ID, we need to pass it from this object. And this function, wait, we have to store the list also, no? So just like this, parking list. Now, whatever the active parkings are there in this variable, we are going to store. So let's paste it over here. So this dot parking list is equal to res dot data. And this function we have to call on the page load also. So here also we need to call it because here we are setting the parking slot. So once we select the particular parking slot, then only we need to call that API function. So here also we will make it. And on select, once we click on that parking slot, there also we need to call that. So here, 2 times we are calling this function. So let's just check it if API call is success and we are getting the data or not. Master service we didn't save. Let's save it. Let's open the network tab. Let's check it API call is there or not. So now if we go to the parking page, so once we get the parking slot ID, that is 1, we are calling the API. So here you can see we have 2 API call. So in parking slot, we have got 3 record. Now if I change it, let's click on 3. So 3 API call in parking slot 3, we don't have any booking till yet. So it is empty array. Now coming back to floor 1. So in floor 1, if you see, spot 1 is booked, and this was the dummy entry, and spot 3 is booked. So this 1 and 3 should be booked. So let's go to UI. So here one already. Now again we have to use the ngClass. So if that particular parking spot is vacant, so we have to add this class. Otherwise, this class we have to add it. So now here, either we can use @ again. So here we will add a condition. Now we are going to need a function which will check like whatever the parking spot is there, that is booked or not. So where we will create that. Okay, after this. So check if parking spot booked. So this function is responsible to check whatever the spot we are checking that is booked or not. So booked data, it is in this array. So here we will, and this function will get the spot number. Data type number. And here we need to find it. Dot, either we can use find, filter, or find index. The find index will make more sense because we just have to compare with -1 m equal to m dot. So in this array, that is parking list array. So that is get active park API. So here you can see spot number is the thing which we have to check. So spot number equal to whatever the spot number we get. So here we are just checking that whatever the spot number, this function has a sole responsibility to check whatever the parking spot number it get. He will check like in this array, do we have a booking for this particular spot number or not? If yes, it will send the index, otherwise it will send the return. So we have to send return. Now this function, we will call it on this if condition, and we have to pass the item, means our spot number. If equal to, or if not equal to -1, means the parking spot is booked. So we need this div over there. And in else, else, we will have if that particular spot is free. So we will add this over there. I hope you are getting it. So here what we are checking whatever the spot we have. This is the spot for loop, right? So this we are passing spot number, we are passing to this function. This function will does whatever the spot number we will get, it is checking against the booking. Like, do we have a booking for this parking spot or not? And if it is we have the booking, then we will get the index number. If not, we will get -1. So if it is -1 means that parking spot is if it is not -1 means some index number is there. We have got the booking. So we are showing this. Now here we need to show the, what do we say, that particular, now we need to show the booking number also, like what vehicle is parked. So now this won't work. So instead of find index, we will write find. So what find will does, it will get the particular, if it got the object, it will return the object, right? So now instead of this -1, we have to add undefined check, not undefined. If this function, whatever the function, whatever this function returns, if it is not equal to undefined, we have to get that data. Again, same thing, or as, can we write this as data? In ng container, we can write like that. So that, okay, let it be. And this function again, we will call it over here because we need the car number. Dot, this function is going to return the data. That is vehicle number we need to showcase over here like this. And item also, parking spot number, we need to showcase it over here. I know this is a very lot to process, but if you debug it properly, you will understand how it's happening. Just try to add a debugger in this line, you will get it. Let's just save it and check it if it is working properly or not. So here you can see only parking spot 1 and 3 were booked. So now you can see this is booked and whatever the number it is there. Let's try to book the parking spot 6. Let's enter MH11 M0012. Let's add a dummy enter time. Now if we click on book, now one more thing we have forgot. On click of book, again we need to get that active parking booking, right? So that was this API. So this API again we need to call it on successful booking because we need to show the bookings also. No? So let's save it again. It's now we are trying to book the 6th spot. BPM. Let's try to book. So booking done message we have got and see it is booked. Let's change the floor. So see it is over there. So in floor 3, we don't have any booking. All are vacant. In floor 2, we just have 1 booking. In floor 1, we have 3 booking. This is how actual representation in any parking application. Now this UI might be different, but functionality will be like this only. Now, other thing, if we click on it, that other model pop-up we have to open. That will be for making the car out. So this is the function. This is the div which we have to, which denotes like this is for book spot. So from here again we need to open the model pop-up. So that is the second model pop-up. So let's copy this function. Open. Let's give the different name. Open. Let's say release model. Let's get the ID of that. This was a book model. Second is the release book model. This ID we have to pass it over here. Now, once we click on this, we need to store like what is the object. So on this div, we need to call this function to open that particular model pop-up. And we will pass the whole object. So this function, we will call it over here. And we need to pass the whole object, means the same object what you get over here. This is kind of a repeated code. We could, I mean, we are calling this function multiple times, but we can do that. But we have to again use the ng container. That will make thing more complicated. For pressure, it will be hard to understand. So that's why I'm keeping it normal. So this function, we are passing the object. So whatever the current object we get from that function, we are passing it. So instead of number, here it will be parking obj data type any. We need to open it, and we will need again one more variable because we need to store that selected parking obj colon any empty. So once we click on that model pop-up, we need to store now on which parking spot object we have opened. So in this variable, we are going to store that. This object, we will store it over here. Sorry, no, I forgot. So let me check. I think we can use the same model pop-up. Same model pop-up we can use, or let it be separate model only, we will use it. And we have to bind the data also. So let me just get this form again. Everything should be disabled because we are not allowing a user to change anything. Just he should be able to enter the out time like this. So this will be enabled. And on click of mark out, we need to call our function release spot. This function we will create. Now, so what we are doing in the book section. So this is like book div. Here we are clicking on that. On click of it, we are opening the model pop-up, but we are sending the selected object also. In this function, we are storing the selected object in this variable. And this variable, we have to bind to our second model pop-up. So here you can see, instead of booking object, now we need to bind this, and here also we need that. We will bind it out time over here. Let's get the out time property name. By default, when we create the booking, it will be null, but now we have to send it. In API call also, we need to create one function, just like book spot, it will be release spot. So only 5 to 6 API call will be there and you will be able to complete the whole application. Let's get this URL. I don't want to make the spelling mistake, so that's why I'm copy pasting it. Release spot. This will go over here. Now, again, just like this API call. So I'm just copy pasting it. Instead of book spot, it will be release spot. The object, this is the object which we have to send, selected parking object. Spot released. And once we release the spot, again, we need to close the model pop-up answer. Again, we need to get the active parking. Now the close model function, same function, we will use it for another also. Let's create another one just to separate out the things. Close release model. And this model pop-up will go over here. And this function we have to call over here. So let's save and check it again. So now if let's try to release the parking space 3. So you can see all the data is over here. Now let's enter, let's say it entered 3, let's say 3 p.m. It got out. On click of mark out. We didn't call the function. On the button click, let's test, check that. We call it. Might be something error. Let's check it properly. Oh, for this error, why it is saying error? Let me just test it one more time. Parking spot booking, release spot. Object also we have sent. Let me check why it is saying a error. Parking ID is also there. Parking lot ID, spot number 3, vehicle, everything is correct. Was it post or not? Post only. Let me just check the API code. So sorry, I forgot. This is put API. So you can see. So that's why here we need to check it. So if we send the correct wrong method, obviously API won't hit and we will get the error. Now let's check it one more time. Let's try to release this spot. Let's add the out time. Let's clear it. If we click on markout, you can see API call is success. Once we do it again, you can see we have called the again get active pathing. So that is also released. Just like that. Let's try in time. Let's say 4 p.m. Markout. Okay. Like this happened. Okay, let's try to book one car from floor 3. Let's add a more. Book, booking done. So now you can see it is booked. So this is how your whole application should work. It's a small application. This is the code which might be confusing to you. Otherwise, remaining is very straightforward. So just try to add a debugger at every point. Try to see what is happening, what is not happening. Try to print everything and you will get it. So that's it with this application. Again, like parking lot, we have not covered because this is just a CRUD application. And if you want to, because so many guys are getting asked small application like this as a machine test, so you can have a reference of this. You can use these APIs also. It will run on this localhost 4209 port only. Don't use 4200. It won't, you won't get the access. You will get course error. So use these APIs, create your logic. If you are creating it in the older version, app model will be there. Some code will be changed, but remaining logic will be same. APIs call and whatever the variable we have got, that will be same. UI, I have already posted it in my GitHub. That is YouTube project template repository. You will get whatever the UI seeing over here now. So this UI is already there, so you can make use of that also. So for now, thank you. Again, I will come back again. Like you guys can send me the machine test, whatever you face, that I will try to cover those videos. Thank you all.